important that I see that sparkle in her eye.
Luly Yang wants anyone wearing her clothes to light up, to feel the flame kindled in her more than 20 years ago.
Yeah, I literally felt a fire.
Wow.
Kind of ignite, and I said, okay, I want to feel that.
Fashion is the fire in her belly, but it also requires ice in the veins, especially when you hear you're torching your future.
He said, don't do it. He said, don't do it. And he's like, you're making a mistake. Don't do it.
But she did. She's become the designer in Seattle. Everything from custom bridal gowns to mass-produced uniforms. But being the hottest fashion name doesn't prevent you from getting burned.
Our sales pretty much overnight dropped to half. So
now she talks about getting blindsided by disaster and also making mistakes with eyes wide open.
we tested it. It didn't look right. So
Under armpits looked like butts for a second. Success is messy, and this is what it looks like. Hit and miss is about really successful people and their mistakes. You have to keep taking your best shot again and again, and it is going to be hit and miss. Thanks, everybody, for coming back to Hit and Miss. I remember when I moved to Seattle almost 20 years ago, falling in love with two gorgeous sights, this city and its setting, and another combination of natural and human-made beauty. A dress in the window on 4th Avenue at the Fairmont. It looked like a monarch butterfly had wrapped itself around a mannequin. Beautiful, buoyant, on the brink of flight, just like the designer herself, Luly Yang. That iconic piece launched her in the world of fashion, while flannel and hoodies were the norm. Now, she designed it when she was a graphic designer. She hadn't made the leap into fashion yet. But there was a fundraiser to support art therapy for kids, a contest to design dresses made of paper, and she grew her wings.
So to me, it was a kind of the metamorphosis and the catalyst for me to kind of get the experience, fall in love with it, realize, oh my gosh, I remember when I was 6, I wanted to be a fashion designer.
Okay.
Let me go back to it. So that's when I made the transition.
So when you entered this contest, did you consciously think, okay, I'm taking my step back into fashion?
No.
Okay.
I just said, I want to be in the show and join the community and raising money. That was it. And then a few months later, after I made 2 paper dresses, one of which was the butterfly dress, I actually had this, like, I don't know, it's a fire that I felt when I put the dress on my friend who was an architect. She put it on and she walked away and came back to me, and I really felt this rush. To me, it's this passion that it's really, I literally felt a fire kind of ignite. And I said, okay, I want to feel that. I want to feel this in my job, in my everyday job. Wow. And I took out my journal. I wrote a pros and cons list. And then I think the following month, I told my boss at the time, I was like, is it okay? I'm thinking of doing fashion. Is it okay if I work part-time? Because I needed to make a living too while I did that. And he said, sure.
Wow.
So I had great support
from
my colleagues and from management, and they were wonderful.
How about from Dad?
He said, don't do it. He said, don't do it. And he's like, you're making a mistake. Don't do it. Don't do that's a big change. Don't do it because you have a stable job at an amazing company. Stay there. And I said, well, I do love my people and I do love the company, but he couldn't feel the fire that I felt because I was just internal.
It'd be easy to just lean on that butterfly metaphor, breaking out of the cocoon spun by her father and taking flight. But it wasn't that simple for this obedient daughter of a left-brained engineer. Take me back to little young Luly. You were born in Taiwan, is that correct?
Yes.
And you moved to this area when you were 10?
Yes.
Do you remember coming
I do.
What was that like?
Big shock. Very different.
Yeah.
I actually lived for my first, when I was 1 and 2, I lived in Japan.
Okay.
I don't remember much of that, but photos bring back memories. So then 8 years in Taiwan, South Taiwan, and then Bellevue. So a little bit of a culture shock. I didn't speak a word of English, so I had to kind of integrate immediately into the elementary schools here. And that was a big change. I wasn't scared, I wasn't concerned. I just thought, okay, this is life. We're supposed to, at a young age, we're supposed to go through this change. Let's learn. And that was the beginning. So learning the language and the culture was very rewarding but difficult at the time because I was young.
Did your parents speak English?
Yes.
How did they help you learn the language? Or
They hired me tutors.
yeah.
They hired me tutors. And study,
Yeah.
study hard. Culturally, it was like very normal to come home, have dinner, and then do homework until 11.
Okay.
And history class was very difficult because it's all about reading.
Ah.
So my dictionary on the side, and my history book there, and it would take like 2-3 hours to read a chapter. It's
Just to read it,
just
let
to,
alone
just to
believe.
understand it, just to read it and then understand it. So that the first few years were homework time was not my favorite. It was long. It was really long. Yes.
Culture shock, you said.
I think the school felt very different. And going to school in Asia was all we wore uniforms. It was uniformity was very important, and the students didn't speak as much. The teachers spoke, we just listened.
Yeah.
It was much more open and free here, it felt like. Yeah, but I really enjoyed it. I enjoy seeing my friends. I remember going to my first class, I was in 5th grade, and I sat down and I looked around and I thought, wow, there are like 4 or 5 different hair colors in here. Whereas
That struck you?
Yeah, last year in my class, we have black hair.
Yeah.
Look at this, blonde hair, brown hair, and I was already very interested in art, and so color was a big element for me to study. So I would study my classmates' hair. And then I would look at the blonde girl's hair and it's like, how does she have 3 or 4 shades of blonde in her hair?
Wow.
So these are things that I didn't think I would be like looking at
Yeah.
in 5th grade.
So when you didn't have a uniform anymore, did you find yourself, did that direct you towards fashion? Or?
Yes, yes. Well, uniform was kind of a statement in its own too, because it was about the school and the brand of the school and the messaging. My mom was into fashion, so was my grandmother. They all sewed and designed, and it was interesting because I said, Mom, why is my skirt a little different? It's pleated and it doesn't look like everyone else's. She said, well, because I made yours custom and I spaced your pleats a little wider than the regular pleats, so the proportions are different on your skirt, and the suspenders on mine were wider, so she actually styled my uniform
That's
in a
amazing.
very subtle way that looked different than everyone else. So your uniform, but you're special. I said, oh, okay. She's like, you gotta wear a uniform, but I'm just gonna make it just a little special so you have your individuality.
When you were growing up and you're artistic and noticing color and all of these things and being interested in that, was there a part of your Asian American background that said, that's great, but you need to have a plan. You need to have a career.
Yes, definitely. When I wanted to go to design school, fashion, I actually wanted to go to fashion
Oh, right away.
right away out of high school. And my father, he's like, I don't think that's a very commercial type of career to go into. I think you should do something else. Okay, you can stay in the creative field, but you should go get a more viable, like sellable degree.
Right.
And I said, well, what is it? And he said, well, how about graphic design? Everybody needs a graphic designer. But I'm a good daughter. I said,
Yeah.
okay, I will skip my, skip the fashion. It's still creative. As long as the title has design in it, I'm happy.
Okay.
So I went to University of Washington. I went through that program, loved it. I learned so much about visual communication.
She applied those skills to her graphic design job at an international architecture firm, and that's where she was working when she designed the monarch butterfly dress. And yes, she spread her wings, slowly. It took years for the title to change from graphic design to fashion design. So what was your plan? It was a gradual transition, correct?
It was gradual. I found a space that was inexpensive. I took a loan out of my small condo and then I remodeled it. It's down just 2 blocks away in 4th and Pike building.
Okay.
I was in an upstairs, no window studio, 800 or 900 square feet.
And what was your goal?
I wanted to build a couture salon because I wanted to design something custom for each client.
Wow.
I wanted to do something custom, and it was the highest of all fashions, this haute couture.
Yeah.
So I started with that. So it was bridal and couture.
It was a daring Seattle success right in the home of grunge. Luly Yang became the designer for anyone with the moxie and the means for high fashion. She created a body of work for the bodies who knew how to work it. How do you see that in a bride? How do you know, oh, I got it?
Oh, the way she looks at herself. It's not the way she, looks at the dress. It's the way she looks at herself in the mirror, and that's why you see mirrors everywhere in my studio. It's very important that I see that sparkle in her eye, that she feels like she's in her skin. And she feels super confident, and this is it.
She sees herself and she likes what she sees.
She likes what she likes what she feels, and she likes what she sees. I love the beauty of it and the special ambiance that we create, right? And that feeling for the bride in this, and I do it for that one individual. But there's also this idea of the human comfort and this effortless feel. Couture can be pretty stuffy. Like if you don't do it right, it can be uncomfortable. So the comfort and the textiles that we select today is not what I was selecting, years and years ago. Now I'm putting pockets into the gowns everywhere I can. I'm putting comfort into it. I'm putting pieces onto the gown that transforms so that after the ceremony, it can be transformed into something that's much more flexible and it moves with the bride as the night evolves.
From feathers to beads, traditional to avant-garde, the detail on Luly Yang's gowns made brides' dreams come true. But she quickly found she could not be married to perfection. Just like her designs, her business had to be elastic, practical. It had to evolve. So you started off basically building your dream, your passion.
Yes.
And that got tempered by the economic realities?
Yes, it was hard. It's hard to run the business, be the designer, be a one-person show, and try to do everything well. And being trained as a designer, we're trained to be perfectionists, at least in my school. You need to be, your solution needs to be perfect. Perfection, 100%. To the point, to the point. How perfect can this product be before it's launched? And that slows things down, because if you let one side of the brain take over and the other one's not thinking, you just kind of a runaway show, right? And then mistakes happen, and financially, cash flow wise, is not healthy. But if you let the books just run the show, if you let just the left brain run the show, you're thinking only about financials and cash flow, the product is not solved for. The solution for the product or whatever it is we're doing, here. Why are we doing all this? I'm here to solve human problems. I want to be, as a designer, I want to elevate the human experience through my work.
The two sides of her brain came together for an evolution that was not immediately obvious. Luly Yang Couture established a reputation for customized elegance, refinement, and beauty. And in 2016, Luly Yang Design Group specialized in uniforms to fit the masses. She started with custom beading, silks, and delicate details, then added safety wear, weatherproof gear, and work uniforms. The common thread, form complementing function. How does that approach for the dresses then influence the uniforms also?
I think the attention to detail and the attention to silhouette building and building a look and the design lines that look good on more body types is coming from the art of couture. The art of couture is how do you make this particular person, this body, look as beautiful, as proportionate as possible. And we take that and then put that kind of formula into uniforms. Whereas the uniform, you're dressing 20 to 30 different shapes and sizes, and that's very challenging, super challenging, but it's so good when you get it right. It's so good.
That must have, you must have had some hits and misses with the uniform side of things.
Yes, and that's why we do these prototypes, because we can test out our innovation, and the innovation can be a total flop, or it can be really a good one,
Tell me about a flop.
Oh, well, we try to put a gusset that we put, that you see on the bottom of the workout pants.
Okay.
Like leggings and things, like right here. And it looked like we're looking at it like a bottom of a pant. When you raise your arm, you really don't want that look. Obviously, it didn't go to market. We didn't do it. We tested it. It didn't look right. So
under armpits looked like butts for a second.
I know. So this is all kind of an R&D process, right? Anybody who's in design of products knows that, there's a lot of laughter and just like, oh, I can't look at that. We'll just mock up the patina.
Her success is no joke. Amazon tops her client list, along with Alaska Airlines, the Space Needle, Climate Pledge Arena, and others. She focuses on how the body works, how to design clothes to make jobs easier. But along the way, more ominous mistakes came without any tinge of humor.
Oh gosh, I cringe when I think about it, but okay.
Really?
Yeah.
That war between her left and right brain left scars she doesn't enjoy looking at. But she confronted the cringe when we got away from her bridal studio, the place of finished perfection, and sat down in the space where she toughs out her designs, reconsidering and revising.
And one of the toughest times, and I think I'm not alone in saying this, is 2008.
Okay.
Because I started in 2001, and 2008 was unexpected.
Uh-huh. The recession.
The recession. So when we moved to the Fairmont in 2004, we doubled our sales year over year. So
Year over year. Wow.
year over year. So I think I got a little comfortable.
Uh-huh.
And as a designer, was very, very happy, obviously, that the work was celebrated and we were doubling our business year over year. And 2007, I hired a lot of people, and the designer in me is like, wow, look at what we can do. We're going to double year over year. And I think the designer in me took over and just said, let's really augment and grow and hire and do all these investments and new things. And so I went ahead and did all that in 2007. So we had the biggest staff that we ever had back then, and I expanded more space.
Uh-huh.
And
How
I took
many
over.
people did you have?
Oh my gosh, I had like 12 or 13 for a space that usually requires like 3 or 4, right? Because we're a small boutique at the Fairmont. That excludes the sewing room, but it was just a time of growth, and I was seeing the trajectory kind of going this way. And then 2008 happened, and it was a really big shock, and I had never experienced that before. And at that time, our sales pretty much overnight dropped to half. So imagine that happening, and I have all the infrastructure built for another double.
Right.
Right? So that was a big shock. That's why it's cringy, because I think about it, it's like, wow, that was a tough year.
Yeah. How did you get through that?
Well, it was really hard because I had to let people go, and that's my least favorite thing to do as a business owner, is having to say goodbye to people I care about. So I had to let go of half.
Wow.
Yeah, and I had to stop paying myself. That's not easy.
For how long?
Like a year.
Wow.
So that year was tough, but we hung in there.
Yeah.
So my takeaway from that, and luckily that was a long time ago when I think about it, right? 2008 to now, is being agile and not, don't forget to prepare for the future and don't overbuild. And now today, the businesswoman's voice is much louder and much more prominent, with the design voice being much more balanced. And I'm not perfect either. I'm still learning.
But just like that schoolgirl who devoted hours to translating her history homework, she made sure those hard lessons stuck. Years later, it would save her. When COVID brought the world to a halt, talk of high fashion was off pitch, and the businesswoman's voice took over.
First of all, I wasn't thinking about our business at the time. I was like, oh my gosh, people are dying.
Right.
And we can't get masks, especially medical masks. Remember?
Yeah.
It seems like 20 years ago, but it was just 4.
Right.
So we were trying to, with our logistics reach and our sources, we were trying to source medical masks to bring them in. So we were trying to ship it in to donate to the hospitals, and we were doing that very, very quickly. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, what can I do here locally? So I, with our sewing room, started to design masks and make masks locally with our fabrics that we had on hand.
Okay.
So we started to do handmade masks and sent it out and shared that with the community, but it just wasn't enough. It was very little. We don't have the capacity to create thousands and thousands of masks. So I said, we have to be quick. We can't wait on this. We have to move on it. So I actually pivoted and converted some of our factory partners' sewing lines that we used to make uniforms and garments into mask making lines. And that was done immediately, pretty much in March and April. So quick, immediately.
Like that?
Immediately,
Wow.
we had to pivot. I said, okay, what did I learn from my past? I can't stay on track. I have to pivot, and I have to take a detour. I'm gonna put a pause on this part of the business. I'm gonna turn this way. Nobody expected it, and we pivoted all of our factories into mask making, and within 2 months, we were producing 2 million a week Yeah. And
Wow.
we delivered millions of masks that year. We were doing garments and uniforms for Amazon at the time still because they were so busy delivering the essentials, right? They really saved a lot of people from having to go out and risk their lives by getting infected. So they actually delivered. And I made masks for them. So
Wow.
I made masks for them and for schools and for different communities that had to go out and do things. And that was a rewarding year, but super tough.
You were helping your community, but it also it saved your business also?
It did. It saved my business. It saved thousands of jobs overseas in the factories where a lot of factories were closing down.
Yeah.
It made me feel good because those families
Yeah.
that have worked in the production lines for years and years their families continue to live the way that they were able to live. And today they still make our uniforms, and our garments. So when you go through such a hill together, such a big mountain, we climb a big mountain together, we become very close.
Wow. So did you have to lay anybody off during the pandemic?
I didn't.
The businesswoman and designer saw the same pattern.
I think this looks good.
Just like her clothes, her company had to adjust to movement and changes, not restrict them. That flexibility saved her business, even grew it more. She started Luly Yang, a line of more casual and comfortable clothes.
So we've learned to really be a flexible team, and we all try to think the same way, and we have to remind each other. I need to remind myself. Don't forget the art, don't forget the beauty of it, don't forget that perfection part of me, that why people hire me to do this and hire our team to do this, but also keep in mind that it's a business, it has to be sustainable, it cannot be wasteful, use your resources wisely. So that's the balance that I've learned that I'm practicing. It's like yoga and Tai Chi, you don't just know it and then you know it and you do it, you have to practice every day.
And you find that even practice does not mean perfect. Sometimes only mistakes do. Did you ever start designing something and you didn't intend to, I don't know, something
Favorite
accidents?
mistake.
Yeah.
I mean, small ones happen all the time. So when I'm draping, so I start with the sketch usually when I'm designing, and it looks a certain way. Then I take the fabric, and then if it's a draping piece, I'll drape it, and I'll say, I'll give myself 30 minutes, I'm gonna do this. So I do it, and sometimes it's very bad. I'm like, oh my God, take it down, cringe. And then sometimes it evolves into something that I didn't expect, that's really beautiful because of the limitation of the time, because of the limitation of the fabric, and it won't fold a certain way.
Yeah.
And it forces me to move a different direction with the design.
Okay.
So I think those kind of like mistakes and those surprises are actually good. And I've learned to kind of give myself a little bit of leeway and flexibility to allow that to happen.
Great. Is there one design that comes to mind when you're talking about that?
Well, I have one from 2000, oh gosh, that's all 2008. That was the crazy year when things were, and my favorite collection, one of my favorites came out that year.
Really? Which one was it?
It's called 2020.
Okay.
And it's not the year 2020, it was about Vision 2020, having 2020 vision about life. And my finale dress was hand draped, and it was a black and white one. It has a parachute skirt that's really big.
Okay.
And it has such beautiful movement. So that was not supposed to look like that.
Okay.
But it turned out to be one of my favorite pieces.
Do you remember what you had originally envisioned it to look like?
It didn't have the parachute skirt, it didn't have the volume that it had, didn't have the movement that it had. It was a little more structured.
Okay.
And so it ended up being a structured corset with a balloon skirt that was really, it took over like a 10-foot wide runway.
Wow.
And we bubbled the bottom, so when she took off, it would look like she was kind of flying. So that's magical.
After more than 2 decades, still taking flight. She first took the risk on that monarch butterfly, a little scared of the misfortune and mistakes that might weigh her down. Instead, they've given wing to even greater success.
My favorite mistakes as a group that helped me, I think, be a better designer and business person today would be realization that when I take my eye off of the real problem, which is solving for the humankind, when I take my eye off of that and I focus too much on the logical side or the practical side or just the design vision side, and my eye is just on that and not the human, elevating the human experience, then it usually has a chance of going off track.
Okay.
But what I learned from all my mistakes is like redirect, always to redirect back to the human being that we're designing for, and it usually comes back to success. So I can redirect the mistake back to success or back to something that I'm proud to say that is mine.
Thanks for watching Hit and Miss. You can find me, Monique Ming Laven, on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Links are all on Cairo7.com/hit-and-miss. And next time on Hit and Miss, a drag queen gets dragged.
My drag persona is an alien, and I'm always trying to give this sort of galactic feel.
Irene the alien gets an out-of-this-world chance and then comes crashing down to Earth.
Even if I swing and miss, I will receive extra credit for taking a risk. And I missed so astronomically.
That is the next Hit and Miss.